Hi everyone. We're going to do 11.2 today. We've been talking about angles. Now we're going to talk about a couple of special type of angle relationships and really just a couple more vocab words. So first of all, let's start with complementary. The word complementary in math, or in geometry anyways, means you have two angles that add up to 90 degrees. Any two angles at all. Now, they can be connected or adjacent angles, or they can be totally separate. You can have one way over there and one way over there. It doesn't matter. If they add up to 90, they are called complements, or we say they are complementary angles. So let's say one angle is 30 degrees and the other is 60. You go, all right, 30 plus 60 is 90. Those are complements. Now, a very similar vocab word is supplements or supplementary. Same concept, but it's 180 instead of 90. So any two angles that add up to 180 degrees are called supplements or supplementary angles. So what you want to do is just make sure you don't get them mixed up. If I say complements, you know I mean 90. If I say supplements, you know I mean 180. But I'm always talking about two angles that add up to that number. And it has to be two. If you have three angles that add up to 90, that doesn't count. That's not complements. If I have like a 30 and another 30 and another 30, you don't go, okay, well 30 plus 30 plus 30 is 90, so these three angles are supplements. This is two angles adding up to either 90 or 180. So a good example, remember in yesterday's notes, in 11.1 part 2, 11.1 part 2, I said this picture right here is called a linear pair. If I take a line and then I split it into two angles with a ray, that's called a linear pair. And I said they always add up to 180. Well, another way for me to say that is linear pairs are supplements, or linear pairs are supplementary. They add up to 180. So here's an example. Let's say angle A and angle B are supplements. Find the measure of both angles if measure of angle A is 42 degrees more than measure of angle B. So right off the bat, the vocab word here is supplements. I said A and B are supplements, which means they add up to 180. Let me write that down. Let me just say A plus B equals 180. Then what I said is find the measure of both. We're going to find angle A and angle B. If measure of angle A is 42 degrees more than measure of angle B. Let me write that down. Measure of angle A, I'll call that A, is, well, is means equals, 42 degrees more than measure of angle B. That means B plus 42. Remember way back in Modules 1 and 2, we talked a lot about converting words into equations. If I say something is 42 degrees more than something else, it means it's that thing plus 42. So A plus B equals 180, that's supplements. A equals B plus 42, that's A is 42 more than B. What you have right here is what we called a system of equations back in first semester. So what we want to do is solve. We want to solve the system. So if you remember how we did that, a good way to solve this system, since my second equation tells me what A equals, let's do a substitution. Let's take what A equals and substitute it for A into the first equation. So if I do that, what I have is B plus 42, that was the A. Then I have plus B equals 180. Let's solve that for B. So right here I have B plus B, that would be 2B, that's like 1B plus 1B. And then I'll leave the plus 42 and I'll leave the equals 180. Okay, I want to solve for B. The next thing I would do is a minus 42 to cancel out the plus 42. That leaves just 2B here. 180 minus 42 would be 138. And then we'll divide by 2 to cancel out that 2, and we'll have solved for B. So B equals 138 divided by 2. That would be, let's see, 40, that would be 69 degrees. So I asked you to find both. I said find the measure of both angles. One of them, B, is 69 degrees. Once you know that, we can go back to our system of equations and we can put it in to find the other. So let's plug that 69 in right there. We get A equals 69 plus 42, which would be 111. So those are our answers. A is 111, B is 69. We found two angles that add up to 180, and one of them is 42 degrees more than the other. And what we did to do that is we used something from first semester. We used our systems of equations. All right, so that's an example of how you can use supplements, and it's also a good review from first semester of how to do systems. All right, here's another vocabulary word. Any two lines or line segments or rays, any of those things, that intersect or cross to make a right angle are what we call perpendicular. So here is an example where we can use that. Let me take me out of there. So I have actually two lines crossing and then there's an extra line in the middle of there. So let's focus on that little red box right there. That little red box is the symbol for a right angle and it means 90 degrees. Now what that means is that those two lines that are crossing are perpendicular. That's what right angle means. Now, if you have two lines that are crossing that are perpendicular and it make a right angle, that means every angle they make is a right angle. So if that one is marked 90, that's good, but it means that this one here is also 90. It means this one here is also 90. And it means that bottom one, which has actually been split into two parts, is also 90. So what's important to realize here in this picture is that this angle here, 40, plus this angle right here also have to equal 90 because that's a right angle too in that bottom right corner. So in order to solve this one, that's how you have to set it up. You have to realize that those two, that's a right angle, it's 90 degrees. So those two angles that I circled in blue are what we call complements or complementary, and they add up to 90. So to solve this one, I'm going to add them up. I'm going to say 6x plus 2, that's one of them, plus 40, that's the other one, has to equal 90. And there's my equation to solve. So I can start by adding the 2 and the 40 and getting 42. We'll leave the 6x. And then I'm going to solve. I'm going to get rid of the 42. I'm going to subtract 42 from both sides. Leave the 6x. And 90 minus 42 is 48. And then we'll finish it off by dividing by 6. And 48 divided by 6 is 8. So I get x equals 8. I look back at the original question. It asked me to solve for x. So that's my final answer, and I'm done. So what we did in that question is we used one right angle to realize that the lines are perpendicular, which means that all four of those angles are right angles. But the one I focused on was this right angle here. And I said, that's 90 degrees. That extra red box that I just drew in right now, that was a 90-degree angle. If it's split up into two pieces, then the two pieces have to add up to 90. And that's how I made my equation, and I solved for x.